Yeah, I don't think anybody requested this video, but I like Plovdiv. It's the Prague of the Balkans, more or less. So here are the stadiums of Plovdiv, Bulgaria. Stadion Lokomotiv. In the Sofia video, we also saw a Stadion Lokomotiv. There are two locomotives in Bulgarian football's top flight, but I think this one might be the better of the two. It was built in 1982. However, as you may have noticed, there's been some construction work done recently. It has been transformed from a multi-purpose stadium to a football-specific one, although the construction of the stadium will only be fully completed when the East Stand reconstruction is done, in a few months or weeks' time. The East Stand is this one over here, the telltale sign being that it's the one on the eastern side of the field. Kola is a bit of an unusual venue, I suppose. The exterior is clad with a mosaic of metallic grey and orange panels, but that's not what makes it unusual. It is a velodrome first and foremost. However, as you can see, it's also used for basketball. It's basically the indoor equivalent of what Stadion Lokomotiv used to be, although there are seats within the track as well as on the outside of the track. Another interesting feature are the two big pillars on the arena floor, supporting the weight of the roof. They kinda resemble big metal trees. This place was built on the side of an uncovered velodrome, and is now the only indoor velodrome in Bulgaria. Stadion Plovdiv. This dilapidated concrete behemoth is the largest stadium in the country, although that is debatable, due to reasons we'll get to in a minute. In the past, it was used for local derbies, as well as when big teams from outside of Bulgaria came to town. However, since the mid-90s, it has been unable to host large events due to safety concerns. A renovation was attempted, but it was unable to be completed due to a lack of funds. It also really isn't a necessity for such a big stadium in Plovdiv anymore. As you can see, some small crowds can still be accommodated, which must make for an odd atmosphere. This game in particular is involving Spartak Plovdiv, a third-tier team who primarily play at Stadion Todordev, which is arguably in a worse state than the last one. But at least you don't have to worry about the upper tier collapsing on top of you, because there is no upper tier. It's tiny, but there is plenty of nature on display. You can even see one of Plovdiv's 7 hills behind the only stand. But yeah, even the club themselves know that it needs upgrading, so they've drawn up some plans. That'll be an upgrade and a half. Stadion Hristo Botev. This stadium is colloquially referred to as the College, not because it's where the opposition comes to get schooled, but because it was built on land that was owned by the now defunct St. Augustine College. They funded the construction of the original stadium. Similar to Stadion Lokomotiv, this one has slowly but surely been converted into a football-specific stadium, finally being completed in 2023. It's now a fully enclosed all-seater stadium. The redevelopment was not without its issues. It had to be put on pause for a while due to a lack of funds. Thankfully, in this instance, the government did provide the additional funding to both Lokomotiv and Botev, so they could get their stadiums completed. Nikola Sterev Starika Sports Complex. This is home to Botev's reserve team, as well as being the interim home of an out-of-town club that was recently promoted to the top tier, but played in a stadium that didn't meet the requirements of the league. Not much else to say about this one-stand wonder. Arena Sila. We already saw the largest basketball arena in the city, but the largest basketball club in the city plays here most of the time. It is a bit of an unusual arena, mostly due to the fact that there's a tennis court at one end that's bordered by a double-decker stand, and the basketball court is over at the other end. There is some retractable seating in the middle that can be used by either sport, just not at the same time. It's actually a pretty cool place. Now for something even more unusual. Stadium of Philippopolis is an ancient stadium made mostly of marble. It was built back when Plovdiv, then known as Philippopolis, was a provincial capital of the Roman Empire. It's now only partially exposed to the sunlight, with the rest of the stadium still buried below the city. Come to think of it, this is basically the precursor to Stadion Plovdiv. Speaking of stadion, this stadium was one stadion long. Back then a stadion was a unit of measurement. It's about 180 meters. This relic of ancient Rome is brought to you by Visa. There's also an ancient Roman theatre nearby, which is known nowadays as the Roman Theatre of Philippopolis. Incredibly, they only discovered this place in the 1970s after a landslide occurred. There's just something special about seeing these grand ancient buildings lit up at night. It never gets old. Well, it is old. Those were the stadiums of Plovdiv. It's certainly no stadium capital, but I like to throw in a random city every now and then. Timbuktu, we're coming for you. Thanks for watching, have a good one.